Hey guys, Carlos Williams here with Wisdom Life Consulting, creator of the 5 Jewels of Transformation process or system. Just wanted to shoot this video for you. Many of you know my story. I was 21 years old, found myself with a peptic ulcer diagnosis, really in a bad way with my mental health state. I was very depressed and contemplating suicide on an almost daily basis. I had a daily habit of consuming Pepto-Bismol straight out of the bottle, along with Tums and all kinds of other antacids and home remedies to fix my bad stomach that I thought I had. So one morning I just couldn't wake up. I couldn't stand up anymore. I literally was doubled over in pain, and so that landed me in the internal medicine doctor's office and on a table getting a upper GI scan, which heretofore I had never heard of before. And so this whole experience had me questioning everything that I had been doing, because it was so uncomfortable and it was so out of what I thought my life should be about at that time. And so many of you may be in the same position that I found myself in, where you're taking medication every day that you don't want to be taking, that are having side effects that you don't want to experience. And so maybe you can relate to some of the things I'm going to share, and maybe you might find some value in the things I'm going to share as well. So the last video I shot, we talked about the first 2 jewels of the 5 jewels of transformation system. The first being just breathe. That's the J, and just breathe. And we talked about how the breath and how breathing correlates and moves into meditation and being able to create a serene, stable foundation for us to work from. And then we talked about the importance of getting effective sleep. That's the first E in Jewel. And so we talked about some scientific studies to back up some of those things. But really, like I said in the last video, it really has borne out in the last 25 years of my personal experience, as that I don't need a bunch of studies to show that these things have worked for me, because I'm the proof. You know, I'm 45 years old. I'm stronger than I've ever been. I'm leaner than I've ever been, even though I'm heavier than I've ever been. But that was a choice. I intentionally gained weight to see how big I could get. Really, is all I wanted to do. And the thing is I just keep getting stronger and bigger, and I'm enjoying it. I'm just enjoying my life. And so I'm happier than I've been in a long time, even though the things that are going on, some of the things in my life I don't really like per se, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm happy on the inside, if you can understand that. And we'll get to that later. That has to do with mindset and philosophy and those type of things. So today we're going to talk about the 3rd jewel, which is W. It stands for water, alkalinity, and intake. And so we're going to talk about those 2 things. What is alkalinity of water, and how much water should we be drinking? And so actually we're going to take the second thing first, and we're going to talk about how much water we should be drinking. Now we've all heard all of our life probably that we should be drinking 8 cups of water a day. And that's a cup is 8 ounces, if you didn't know that. So 8 ounce cups of water is 64 ounces of water a day. And now while that may be good for some people, in my experience, a better rule of thumb is to use your weight as a guideline for how much water you should be drinking. So if you take your weight and you divide it by 2, that'll give you the number of ounces that you should be drinking a day. So I weigh 220 pounds, give or take a couple pounds. So that means I should be drinking about 110 ounces of water a day. So that's about a gallon. Now, there are many other factors that go along with how much water you should be drinking. Whether you're very healthy or very ill will determine how much water you are capable of drinking. I was visiting a friend in the hospital today, and he was telling me that they only let him drink about 4 ounces of water every 4 hours. And that has to do with heart function and how your body can deal with the water that you're taking in and things of that nature. This is not that video, but I just want you to know that is a factor. The other thing that has to do with is if you're very healthy, if you're very active, do you live in an environment that supports water? I lived in Arizona for 12 years. And I'll tell you right now, if you've never been to the desert, if you never lived in the desert, it definitely affects your body. You'll be very ashy living in the desert, even if you use a lot of lotion. So if you move to Arizona, get ready to get your lotion bill up, or your shea butter, or whatever you use, because you're going to be using a lot of it. I'm just serious. So where your environment? I'm living in Hawaii now, and I can tell a difference in my skin. It's not as dry. My lips are not as dry, and so the environment that you live in, it's very lush here. It's very waters everywhere. It rains quite frequently, and so to go from an environment where it's very dry to very moist, it has a definite effect on your body, and I can feel it. We could feel it right away when we first got here. So those are some factors, but just as a general rule, 100, I mean, if you take your weight divided by 2, that'll give you the ounces of water you should be drinking a day. And in the email that I send you, that I sent you, I put in there some links to some articles that kind of go along with some of these things that I'm saying. But like I said, that's that. So that's on the amount of water you should be drinking. That's a good rule of thumb. Now, if you're super active, if you work out, 4 or 5 times a week, and you perspire a lot and things like that, then you have to up your water intake, because you'll definitely notice a difference if you don't drink enough water. You'll notice this is the other thing I wanted to mention about that, because water, everything about our body is feedback for how healthy we are, right? And I'm going to talk a little bit about bowel and bladder function, just I'm going to give 30 seconds on that. So your body is so wonderfully made. It's so intelligent, and so it will actually give you feedback if you're doing the right things for your body. And so, for example, a lot of people think that because they have a bowel movement every day, then that means that they're not constipated, and that's not correct. You should have as many bowel movements a day as how many times you eat. So if you eat 3 times a day, you should be having 3 bowel movements a day. If you're not having 3 bowel movements a day, that means you're constipated, right? And so, by the same token, urine, right? Your urine should be, depending on how much water you're drinking, it should not be super, super yellow and concentrated, right? And so it should be slightly maybe off color to clear, right? And so how your urine smells, the color of the urine, those are all feedback that you can use to change the things that you're doing in your health routine. And so if you're finding that your urine is super concentrated, is super yellow, or any fluorescent type of color, and just strong and it's odor, you need to up your water intake, right? And so yeah, I'll just leave it at that. So those are a couple of things that you can just feedback from your body. Also, your sweat, right? If you sweat and you stain your clothes, that means you're not drinking enough water. You have some imbalance in your system. You might be producing too much nitrogen in your system because of something that you're taking in terms of your diet. So those are things you have to look at. So that's all. I love this stuff because it's so intuitive, and it makes so much sense when you really start thinking about what you're doing to your body and how it's responding. It's telling you what what effect that the things, your actions that you're taking are having on your body. It's immediate. You will have an immediate outcome in terms of how you feel, how you what kind of output you have, and things of that nature. So that's a little bit on how much water you should be drinking. Now let's talk real briefly, maybe the 90 seconds on acidity, alkalinity, right? So water alkalinity, from my perspective and my experience over the last 25 years, alkalinity of the water is very important in terms of how your body functions, right? And man, just think about it. It's just so much logic that you don't have to read a whole bunch of studies on this stuff. Our body is 75 to 80% water. It's 75 to 80% water, depending on how hydrated you are. Now, what divides the water in your body is fat. The fat that you eat, in terms of the oils and things like that, that determines what your cell walls are made of. And I could go on that, but I don't have time. So what keeps the water inside your cell and the water outside your cells apart is that fat membrane that the cell wall is made from. And so uh, the 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 alkalinity of the water, how acidic or basic the water that you're drinking, has a direct impact on the output. I just talked about that in terms of your urine, right? So if you are taking in alkaline promoting foods and water, right? You're not doing things like drinking a lot of soda or smoking cigarettes or drinking a lot of alcohol. Those things are very acidic and very harsh in your system, and it really starts to break down your cellular integrity very quickly, right? And on the other end of the spectrum, if you have alkaline water, that alkaline water promotes the environment that your cells need to function in. Yes, there's acid in your stomach, there's acid in your mouth, and there's some acid in different areas in your digestive system. However, those those processes are contained within their area, in the mouth and the stomach, and outside of those areas, uh, the water, how it functions, the basic quality of it does not change over to acidic quality just because it goes through the stomach. And I know that it doesn't sound like it makes sense, but if you read, if you remember back to science class and you talk about pouring acid in the water or water into the acid, you will start to remember that process and how that whole system functions, and the acid and base, how those things work together. So I said all that to say that the alkalinity of the water needs to be in the range of uh, a little bit over 7, maybe 7.5, 8.0, up to about 9.5. That's the optimal range in terms of, for me, in my experience. What's good for you? You need to try it for yourself and then see how it makes you feel. If you feel better with it, then that's what you need to do. If you feel better, if you feel fine drinking tap water, then drink tap water. But I wouldn't recommend it, because the tap water throughout our nation has been shown to contain pharmaceuticals and things like that, from the contamination in the system, from people putting their meds into down the toilet and things like that. That's why they instituted this process of taking your unused medication into to be disposed, rather than putting them into the toilet and things like that. So just think about it. It just makes sense. So that's all I'm going to talk about today in terms of the water piece. I could go on and on about that, but I want you I want you to watch the video, so I'm not going to make it very long. So that's just a little snapshot of the 5 jewels. There's 3 of the 5 jewels of transformation. The other two jewels are effective energy, and the last one is what's the last one called? Exercise and energy is the E, and then the last one is live foods and nutrients. L. So if you found this information helpful, definitely you want to sign up for my course that I'm going to be launching here pretty soon. It's going to teach you. It's going to be a series of 8 weeks of live group coaching, where I'll be going into the system and we'll be working through these things together, and we'll be able to tailor them to your specific needs. So if you have some medication that you may be trying to get off, I'm not a doctor, I don't even play one on TV, but I can definitely give you some suggestions that you can work with your healthcare provider that'll allow you to wean yourself off of these prescription medications and thereby save you money. So if you're tired of just being the symptoms being treated and not really dealing with the root cause of your illness, which is what I did, then this course will definitely be for you. So not only will we be doing the 8 weeks of live group coaching, but you'll also get one-on-one session once a week, and then you'll have unlimited access to me and all of my information and my experience and my network of healthcare providers and traditional holistic healthcare practitioners. And so I'll be able to help you. If I don't know the answer myself, I can definitely get the answer for you and help you when you're healing. And so all of these things, what it's going to do is give you a foundation for your own transformation. And so we'll get into all of what the transformation is, because the 5 jewels is just the foundation that you need to create the transformation, which will then go into helping you be overcome procrastination, helping you be more effective, helping you to see clearer so that you can take your business and take your life to the next level. So if that sounds like a journey that you want to take, then take it with me, and then we would definitely look forward to working with you and seeing you successful. So thank you very much for tuning in, and I look forward to the next email where I'll be going more into depth on the 5 jewels of transformation system and how it can impact your life. Have an incredible evening on purpose.